Greetings everyone and welcome back to another episode of Bite Size History. I'll be your host, Audrey Durham, and in today's episode we are going to be looking at maps again. But not just any map, we're going to be focusing on a map of ancient civilizations. And we will be looking for some of those patterns that may have helped them grow. If you like this channel so far, please make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Alright, let's go ahead, take a quick look at our benchmark, learning goal, and learning target for today. We are starting out with the same geography benchmark that we had for our last video, which is to understand how to use maps and other geographic representations, tools, and technology to report information. Our learning goal for today is going to be to differentiate between continents, regions, countries, and cities in order to understand the complexities of regions created by civilizations. And our learning target is that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the locations of major civilizations and explain how major bodies of water may have impacted their development. Our critical thinking question for today is going to be, how did geography impact the development of early civilizations? Our map we're looking at today is Ancient Civilizations Map and Timeline. Now on this map we can see that there are a lot of different civilizations listed. We're going to start with the oldest and work our way forward. So first up we have Ancient Mesopotamia, which existed from 3500 to 2000 BCE. We also had the Indus Valley, which was there from 2500 to 1700 BCE. Ancient Egypt, which existed from 3100 to 1070 BCE, and the Huanghe Valley, which existed from 1700 to 1122 BCE. So these are the four primary civilizations that started first. Next, we move into ancient Greece, which existed from 800 to 338 BCE. And we can see that and ancient Rome from 509 BCE to 476 CE, or Common Era. They are roughly 2,000 years off from the older civilizations. So our first question that we have is, what civilizations existed before the Aztec, Maya, and the Inca? So in the Americas, there were also some ancient civilizations that cropped up. In our Ancient Cultures of Mexico map, we can see that the Olmec existed from 1500 to 400 BCE, followed by the Zapotec, which were there from 500 BCE to 900 CE, and the Toltec, which were there from 100 BCE to 800 CE. So these are the primary civilizations or cultures that existed before the Maya, Aztec, and the Inca. Now the second oldest of these civilizations is going to lead into the Mayan civilization. So the ancient Maya would come after the Toltec. And looking at those, we have the ancient Maya, which existed from 250 to 900 CE, or Common Era. We have the Inca, which existed from 1200 to 1532 CE, and the Aztec, which existed from 1350 to 1521 CE. And we can see our little pattern here with the Aztec and the Inca, which was the time of Spanish exploration, and when those two civilizations ended due to disease and slavery. So we'll talk about those in later lessons, but I did want to just show you that, or actually point it out, since we have some similar end dates for the Aztec and the Inca. Now moving forward, what do these civilizations have in common? So first up, we're going to look at the Indus Valley. And Indus Valley was roughly 3300 to 2600 BCE in its early phases. And we already noticed that most of the cities are popping up along the rivers. Now, our primary river for the Indus Valley is the Indus River, and we can see that by its squiggly blue line and the blue Indus R, denoting that it is the Indus River. But this was also the most fertile area, and what they needed for sustaining civilization was water for agriculture, because you can't sustain a civilization without food. That is the first example that I'm going to show you. Next example is going to be ancient Egypt. And in ancient Egypt, all of our cities are along the Nile. So we don't have any in the eastern or western deserts really. They all show up along the Nile because that's where they would have, one, been able to grow food, and two, been able to actually build up a population. So the ancient Egyptians utilized the Nile as their fertile river because it would seasonally dispense silt along its banks, which was then used for agriculture. So that is why the ancient Egyptians were successful in their location. And finally, we get to Mesopotamia. Now, the ancient Mesopotamians had two rivers. They had the Tigris and the Euphrates. And we can see again that the major cities here all show up along waterways. So we have the Persian Gulf, we have the Tigris and the Euphrates, and then our map is giving us a key here, which is showing us that fertile area of early agriculture is denoted by that green shading. So along these rivers and along the Mediterranean Sea, and even over here where it shows the Nile, they're all the fertile locations that people were able to actually produce agriculture and produce food. This is the main reason why we look at these maps and why we study ancient civilizations to understand how they developed, because they all have patterns. And one of the patterns that consists to this day is higher populations along waterways. So that is something that we will study in later lessons. But for today's lesson, the big takeaways are we do have a pattern that exists with all civilizations, and especially these ancient ones. They needed fresh water and they needed waterways in order to become higher in populations and to exist for as long as they did. Thank you again for watching another episode of Bite Size History. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about civilizations and where they may have grown, as well as why, and understanding a little bit more about how historians might use maps. If you like this episode, please make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Stay tuned at the end of this video because we're going to be looking at a map from the 15th century. If you have any comments, I want you to go ahead and leave those down below about the image of the map. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought those people were thinking when they were creating it and what you think some of the imagery might represent. All right, that's it for me, guys. Have a fantastic day. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe. You can also find me on Patreon as Bite Size History with Audrey Durham, and on Instagram at Bite Size History with Audrey D. Thank you so much for watching. This show was written and produced by me, Audrey Durham. I look forward to sharing more episodes of Bite Size History with you soon.